Hey, good morning everyone. Friday morning, the 14th of August 2020. This morning's devotional is a reading from the book of Acts, chapter 5, reading verses 1 through to verse 11. And I would encourage you to read this passage of scripture. However, I'll be reading verses 1 and 2, which read, Now a man named Ananias, with his wife Sapphira, also owned a piece of property. With his wife's full knowledge, he kept back part of the money for himself, but brought the rest and put it at the apostles' feet. We continue having a look at learning from failure, and we bounce away with a few questions. How do you bring order out of chaos, meaning out of confusion, and spiritual gain out of defeat? Simply put, why do some learn their lessons and others never gain from failure, but seemed doomed to fail time and time again? A chap by the name of William Levine had a butcher shop which had been robbed 4 times in 1 month. Angry about the abuse, he bought a bulletproof vest for protection. Soon, the other merchants in the street asked him, "Where did you get that? I want one too." Levine sensed that there was a greater demand for personal protection than for a butcher shop. And so he gave up his butcher shop and began a body armor business, which was far more successful than his butcher shop was. The second thing that we're able to take away is that they analyze, those who learn from their mistakes, they analyze the causes of their failure and strive to correct the flaws. Henry Ford put no reverse gear in his first car, and when other car manufacturers began to surpass his engineering, he changed things, and quickly. Number 3, those who've learned have had an unflagging spirit of determination to succeed. A simple one which we use every day. Thomas Edison tried over 10,000 experiments, hoping to produce what we now know as an electric light. He did this by passing an electrical current through some substance which would produce illumination. A friend teased him and said, "Why don't you quit? You've tried over 10,000 times and failed." Edison replied that he'd found 10,000 ways that did not work, and he would find one way that would work. And he did. We have the bulbs that we use in our houses. Number 4, they also learned dependence upon God for what they lack. And no one could better illustrate that truth than a person by the name of Chuck Colson, who was once a confidant to an American president. Chuck Colson became a convicted felon. He later wrote, "The real legacy of my life was my biggest failure, that I was an ex-convict. My greatest humiliation, being sent to prison, was the beginning of God's greatest use of my life. He chose the one experience in which I could not glory for His glory." So, my dear friends, you want to turn your greatest failure into an ultimate triumph? Read the fine print about the failures of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, along with David and Samson in the Old Testament, and of Peter, Ananias, and Sapphira, and others in the New Testament. Some learned from their failures, and others were doomed to repeat them. You too can learn from the mistakes of others. God honors the person who acknowledges Him in the time of failure and gives grace to overcome. You too can learn that failures can become the stepping stones to reaching your goals. My dear friends, with that rather wordy message, my prayer is that may the Lord be with you, may He guide you, may He protect you at all times, and may He bless you. Goodbye.